carry out those transactions. So therefore, no chance. So it's sort of a double whammy type of situation as far as manufacturing.
Look at the Gini coefficient, which is rated quite considerably for Iran. Also PPP figures. So those are good indicators that there has been such a surge to the public.
Did I answer your question? Why the solutions are?
So what do you suggest should be?
Yes, that's a tough one.
May I pose another? What do you think about the currency peg? It's currently peg harsh. Do you think that's something that has to be removed?
There's absolutely no way.
Practically subsidizing all these markets in Asia, Southeast Asia, sell them and pretty much give a competitive advantage because of this.
Right. So is it politically thinking what is so persistent in keeping the exchange rate to help themselves being able to import more from outside Iran, from Asian economies, as you said, and so forth. And when we talk about Pastaran, talk about Zar, and so forth, because the Iranian currency vis-a-vis the US dollar would fairly be valued around probably 2,200 per one US, but under overvaluation of probably a significant amount. Whether that's going to happen overnight is not, but the way things are shaping up, the pressure is mounting. The 5% depreciation in the last few months is going to continue because the petrodollar is not being generated the way, in fact, is necessary to be generated. So as a result, we're going to be witnessing further decline in the value of the currency. Production is going to shrink. The price of oil, in fact, nobody knows what's going to be the next dip. Now, as you see, you get a lot of stories, but we're going to have a double dip type of scenario I'm talking about the Canada, the United States, and elsewhere. If that would be the case, then the energy price is going to go down. IMF is pressuring the Bank of China to revalue yuan, and if that happens, then China is going to sort of experience a negative, or at least a slower growth, and with the slower growth means less demand for energy, less pressure on oil prices to go up, and therefore bad for oil exporters such as.
But here I wanted to segue into this issue of price currency issue in Iran, and that's one of the tough pills for any government. And we had that discussion before, that even if the regime collapses and the new democratic system comes into power, given the fact that if you want to invest, the investment climate in Iran, and you want to go and buy an office in Tehran, and if it's not more expensive, the same price as Toronto, and people ask, so why should we invest in that country? So that, and either you have to increase the productivity, so your manufacturing base, like West Germany, they can afford, like Germany, they can afford to have a currency that is so valuable. But in Iran, unless you depreciate allowing your currency to float and depreciate, or increase your productivity. Increasing the productivity is obviously not possible in the short term. So the only way is just let the real sink.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and back to your question, macroeconomics is characterized by what you call trade-offs. Yeah. So you fix one, you give up something else. So everything has a price, basically. Now, in the long run, should we see the elimination or reduction in subsidies? I would subscribe to that notion. It has to be done. There are no two ways about it. Whether the situation is going to improve in Iran or the situation is going to deteriorate in Iran, too much of a subsidy is unhealthy. No question about it. And however, the current regime and the current government of Ahmadinejad is in this sort of an unenviable situation. They're doomed if they do it. They're doomed if they don't do it. They need the money, so they have to do it. If they go ahead and implement the reduction in subsidy, they're going to have higher inflation, and they're going to have further misallocation of resources. They're going to have probably strikes. They're going to have companies which won't be able to pay their workers. So there's going to be general labor strike all over the country, so on and so forth. So Iran is not in a win-win situation, in fact. But as a professional economist, my view is that although Canada and Iran are in two different stages of prosperity and development, but ultimately the way we're accustomed to an oil exporting nation, which Canada is, probably people of Iran should be accustomed to it as well. But in a very gradual fashion, subsidy would have to go away and prices would have to be adhered to the market value. But unfortunately, everything is sort of abrupt fashion in that country, so I don't think consequences are going to be helpful one way or the other.
So I agree with you that the subsidy should be eliminated. I tell you some figures. Iran is producing about 560 million cubic meter per day of gas, sweetening gas, and Iran has the best distribution system in perhaps Asia. Because, Canada is producing about 450 or 500 million cubic meter per day. But as you mentioned, the efficiency and low prices has caused that the consumptions to be high in houses, in industries, in power generations, everything. The oil production, as you mentioned, Iran is 4.2 million barrels per day, 1.7 is refined.
For the latest figure, it's even below that, it's 3.7.
No, it's 4.2. And one good thing is happening, is that the CNG, which is, Argentina is the best in the world in CNG. They're using compressed natural gas as a fuel for the car. And Iran is following that case, Now they're trying to change that's actually environmental friendly, which is good to me. The number of cars which are on CNG is about 1.7, 1.8 millions, and they're supposed to have probably 3,000-4,000 of fueling stations with CNG, which is a positive thing on the gas consumptions and environmental friendly approaches of. Yeah.
The issue of subsidies is something that we're going to delve into.
Yeah.
Actually, more dedicate probably a session or a number of sessions into, because that's one of the tough pills that no matter which government is in power in Iran has to take that pill. But you have to keep that in mind. For that, you need the environment, first of all, which is stable, because the current is a ploy just to free up the money and redistribute it to foster the political power. So it's not for the good of the country. So that goes the argument, because one of the things that you need for that is the political stability and rule of law, which is, we all agree that is absent in Iran now.
Any other question? Well, thank you very much for your attention.
So we would like to open the floor for open discussion if there is any issue that anyone would like to bring up and discuss. We would like these sessions to be interactive, and hopefully this was the first session. We hope to continue this, and probably next 6 to 8 weeks have another session and have more guests and speakers to contribute to this very important issue. As I mentioned, we are going to go over other topics, and this is a huge area to delve into, and by no means it's going to be done, or we just it's going to scratch the surface for the next couple of years probably if we continue this. It's a very much needed discussion. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, most of the parties in Iran, they don't have a clear political, economical plan, and that is missing. That's the biggest problem. No government in Iran has to come to power based on a sound economic plan, something that people can debate. And most of those discussions are opaque, and people are not participating, and elites are not participating, and they are not simply being supported by empirical data and statistical information. So those are the things that we try to address. So for the future of Iran, what the sound economical foundation should look like. And hopefully public would be more engaged in those discussions. The elite would be more engaged in the discussion. And our students would be hopefully participating more. Thank you. One more point, we are going to post the material, the presentation as well, along the video on our website and on YouTube. Hopefully, if possible, we are trying to post it on iTunes University as well.
That was pretty good.